Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. It's 90 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, and it's time to come with Spotlight, where we continue budget conversations and focus on youth programs and initiatives.
Inside your Spotlight this morning, we're chatting with Nickolai Rampersad. He's a youth advocate, and we're talking youth programs and initiatives. Good morning to you, Nickolai.
Good morning.
Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. Now, the budget presentation for fiscal 2026 highlights priorities such as restoring fiscal stability, unlocking productive investment and jobs, and protecting people through social investment and safety nets. Tell me, from your lens as a youth advocate, how do you see these priorities impacting young people specifically?
Thanks. So yeah, definitely budget fiscal 25-26 was people-centered budget from the youth side of things. My fellow youth advocates, we having conversation after the budget was read. We felt as though that the budget really spoke about the things that we wanted it to in terms of. So we looked at job creation. We saw over the weekend 20,000 jobs being advertised via social media. The government is recruiting. The first-time homeowner program that they intend to launch. A lot of young people are first-time homeowners. The entrepreneurship initiatives that they have also intending to launch. So we really think that these initiatives are what young people right now want to see, what they want carried out in this budget. So we think it's good initiatives that the government has proposed.
Do you feel like anything was left out?
Of course, there are always things that are left out, right? But I think right now, given the current state of the economy, I think the government is trying its best to stabilize the economy, but also have people-centered solutions. So yes, there are things that we may want to see from time in, but we always want to give the government a chance to get these things off the ground.
In speaking to your fellow youth advocates, did you guys feel like the government consulted with the youth enough in preparing this budget?
Funny you even ask that question. The week of the budget, my peers and I sat on a pre-budget discussion hosted by the Office of the Parliament, and we each had one item that we had to ask for in the budget. Now, I think the government was listening, because a couple of the things we spoke about, we saw it in the budget. So a good friend of mine, she spoke about period poverty, which was mentioned. I spoke about entrepreneurship initiatives, which was mentioned. My good friend from Tobago, she spoke about Tobago getting a larger portion of the. So if the government was listening, they certainly heard us. So those were the items we were really looking forward to.
Now, you mentioned just now the current state of the economy, right? What are the key risks for young people or for youth employment that you believe the budget actively mitigated or is being proactive about?
I think the contract employment. We heard the Prime Minister spoke about absorbing contracted officers into the wider public service. I think that's a really good feature. Not that I have anything against contract employment. It's a regular type of employment throughout society. However, I feel as though job security is a really important thing for me as a young person and for other young people. So I think that and the recruitment drive that we're seeing over the weekend, I think it's over 20,000 jobs. People are doing it online. People they have in person at the Coover Cycling Center. So I think that aspect of recruitment is really, really important.
Now, one of the things that they also spoke about is investing in upskilling youth, especially educators, and modernizing teaching techniques. They spoke about the Elevate TT, the Next Class, and that kind of thing. How do you assess these initiatives from a youth perspective? Are they adequate? Are they timely?
Well, I always say, and it's not how much you allocate, but it's how we implement. Right? So we could allocate, I think it was 8.7 billion to education and training, right? But how are these programs implemented throughout wider society? Because when you look at it, we have a brain drain. Why don't young people want to stay? Or even if they do have scholarships and they work off their time back to the government, they look for employment elsewhere. So I think it's the kind of citizen you want to create, the kind of young person you want to create that program where a young person is comfortable. One, they have a job to work in after they completed their training. And then two, they feel like a productive member of society and they want to give back and they have that sense of national service, national pride. So I think it's not really how much, but the way we implement it and looking at educational reform. Because when we look at things, okay, my father grew up as an operator, equipment, heavy machinery, right? When you look, there seems to be a stigma associated with, well, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, engineer.
We still have that?
We still have it.
Okay.
We still have it. So I think that stigma where agriculture, trade is seen as a kind of lower class job, we need to break out of that. We need to also understand that is not the mindset we need to have.
You keep mentioning, the change from contract employment to getting a more getting job security, right? But we've seen over the years where people also complain that in the public sector, it seems as though people barely want to work because they have that job security. How do we find that balance in terms of encouraging people to continue being good citizens and to being of national service and giving of themselves when they don't have to concern themselves with whether or not they're going to lose their job?
Yeah. Well, definitely, I know a lot of persons say that contract officers are really the backbone of the public service. We could have that argument back and forth. I think you need to incentivize public servants and the workers, right? When we look at it, sometimes, I'm not trying to cover for workers. I'm not trying to give bad behavior a chance, but sometimes workers, the environment in which they work is it's toxic, right? It's really
but
toxic.
Who makes it toxic? Is it not fellow workers?
Well, that's the thing. So I think accountability.
There we go.
I think that's a big thing. I think proper training in terms of supervisory level, middle management, because sometimes what we see is that it's not necessarily the heads who are making things bad, but the middle management, they're not properly trained.
Right.
Persons in positions that they're not qualified for or they're not suited for, and they make the working environment toxic. Now, that being said, there's a culture that we have in Trinidad and Tobago that, okay, I get to work for 8 a.m., I go out for breakfast, spend 45 minutes, come back, then I have to eat breakfast and I start work. Now, I work in the government service, right? I was never brought up that way.
Right.
So but there's a culture that exists.
And how long before you fall into the culture?
Well, I'm hoping I don't. But definitely accountability, training, and I think modernizing the public service as well. I am all for public service, really for it and really for national service. But I think there needs to be some transformation and reformation done within the public service in terms of the policies in place, the way things are done. When we look at the policies we currently have, some of these things are very archaic that we've inherited and we've kept over the years. So I think for young people, if we're talking about young people in leadership in the public service, young people eventually taking over these roles, there needs to be transformation done.
Do you think that the Ministry of Public Administration and Artificial Intelligence plays a role in that transformation?
Definitely they do. I look forward to seeing what their initiatives are. I know under the last administration, there was a work from home policy that was being developed. Obviously, we have a change in administration, so things would have paused and now big government is picking back up. So I'm looking forward to that work from home policy, seeing where that goes. I overheard over the weekend that the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Public Utilities was talking about a new transportation system to encourage persons in the public service to use that system to alleviate traffic. So I
like that you take a deep breath after you say that way.
I am looking forward. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I do think that we saw COVID, we had to transition from work from home, and it worked. So I think really balancing that and integrating that into the normal scheme of things would be really good.
All right, you mentioned accountability just now, right?
Yeah.
But like you mentioned implementation as well, in terms of when we go from reading the budget, when we have the figures, how do we implement those figures to make it make practical sense? What are the main indicators or metrics that you will be watching to judge whether the budget is delivering to young people or not?
Definitely consultation. When these programs are being created, when they are being rolled out, who are the advisors? Usually, we have persons over the age of 35 crafting youth initiatives and youth programs for young people under the age of 35. There's always that level of disconnect. So I think a metric that we would use is, okay, what's the practicality of these initiatives? And are they reaching the persons they are intended to? Are they reaching grassroots level? Are they those persons who don't have access to electronic device?
Right.
The people who cannot afford electronic device. These are the metrics that we need to use, because it's nice to have a photo up with the people in the suits and whatever, But what about the guy who living down beach, or who doesn't have that internet access? Are they really getting the program? How is their access to the program?
Now, one of the things that we also need is transparency and accountability, right?
Yeah.
But is that enough to make sure that the budget is executed properly?
No, I think communication is a really important part to play. I think it's a pet peeve of mine. I am all for communication and all for knowledge.
Right.
I think that when you hold public office, whether it be on the public sector side of things or the government side of things, you should communicate what you're doing with the money of the taxpayers. So a pet peeve for me is that when you look online, certain ministries, you don't know who's running the ministry.
Oh, they haven't updated the website in a while.
It's not updated.
Right.
You can't see who are the top level executives. You can't see what are some of the initiatives of the ministry. I think we take it for granted. So now that we have artificial intelligence incorporated into the ministry on that level, I am hoping that throughout all the ministries, state agencies, that digital sense takes over, and we are able to understand the importance of communication, because I've realized that a lot of young people, even adults, when you speak to them about the budget, they're clueless.
Well, they know the gas went down.
Yeah.
That much they know
But
for sure.
in terms of the process of the budget, they don't seem to understand how the budget affects us. What's the process, the pre, during, and post, and how everything comes together.
How would you encourage youth groups to monitor or evaluate what's happening with the budget?
I would say take advantage of the parliament. You just have to sittings when they're so we entering into Standing Finance Committee as of this morning. You can attend in the gallery.
Or you could watch on TV.
On TV, if you can attend. Definitely avail yourself. The information is there. Do the reading. As soon as the budget presentation is read, the entire presentation is made available online. So definitely get connected, and then also get connected with the ministries. Write to them, email them. I mean, I don't know how quickly they're going to respond, right? But we're working on But definitely get connected. Look at the parliament sittings, look at the Standing Finance Committee, where they look at items line by line, where you see what are the allocations for different initiatives. And then ask yourself, write to these ministries, hey, you said X amount for this program, That is, I would always encourage that.
One more question. From the youth vantage point, what sectors or what opportunities should young people be prepared for now that the budget is read, and how should the budget be supporting that transition?
Okay, so I would definitely be prepared for jobs. When you talk to young people, a lot of them, the story is that they cannot find a place of employment. Even persons who are educated, whether it be first degree, master's degree, and so forth. So definitely get yourself in a gear, have your resumes updated, have copies of all your documents there, because now literally there was no ads saying, okay, we're going to launch recruitment. It was just launched. And when you look at the program, it's what they're asking for is copies, resumes, stuff like that. But I will also say that on the budget side, on the government side of things, there needs to be some sort of database where persons who drop in resumes outside of the recruitment period, whether it be just the regular Monday morning and you drop a resume, there needs to be a synchronized database across the public service where you can pull from that base instead of always having to advertise. I know that when you drop in hard copy into ministries, they're not supposed to get rid of it. They have to actually log it and whatnot.
Right.
So, but then, in the long run, are they pulling back from those records to say, hey, Nickolai, yeah, man, he's qualified for this position, and let's call him. So That's what I think.
But I think part of the Constitution says that they have to advertise the position, even if they have your resume logged already. But I completely hear what you're saying. Nickolai, thank you so very much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
And for sharing your thoughts. And we definitely look forward to being able to hold the government accountable to the budget that they presented, and especially see how it affects young people. So thank you for your work, and please continue.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, Nickolai Rampersad, youth advocate, sharing with us his thoughts on youth programs and initiatives coming out of Budget 2025-2026. We take a quick break and we come back with more. Stay tuned.
So we live and we do what we want to. And this life is a gift.